I will give you one example and then ask a question. The national parks in the United States are in a mess because one question was never asked when they were set up. Why do we want them? Do we want to allow nature to take its course, in which case we have to allow the fires and the disturbance regimes? Or do we want to maintain a planned community in a certain stage, in which case we have to manipulate the outcome? That question has never been asked. So they're in a mess today. And that decision has never been made. No one has the courage to ask that question because it would be unfavorable to someone. The things we have to keep in mind is often if the question is a hard one to handle, the people in charge will put off making a decision. And once a vision loses momentum, it's dead. It's very hard to start momentum again. If any of you have ever driven a Johnny Popper tractor, a John Deere, that flywheel takes a long time to get cranky, but once it's cranky, it just hums. If you stop the engine, you've got to start it over again. It takes a lot of energy. So keeping the momentum is critically important. In highly controversial situations, you have to remember that when people don't make a decision, they can always be replaced. They were elected. They can be unelected and somebody else can be put in. That's your prerogative. It's up to you to keep the process going. A question that a comment I hear frequently, the last 2 points, which I disagree with, is when we can't make a decision because we cannot commit the next person in this job. What kind of bull is that? If Teddy Roosevelt and Gifford Pinchot had not made the decision to create the national parks and national forests in the U.S., we would have one incredibly big mess today, and all of the forests would have been cut out many years ago for short-term profit. Of course you can commit them. That's what a law is about. The thing with a democracy is, whether it's parliamentary or like ours, it's the same thing. Few people trespass on the rights of many people. And every law that is passed in a democracy is limiting to everyone. What a vision does, when it is properly done, is take the place of a law and helps people to come together so that everybody has the equal amount of freedom by voluntarily constraining their behavior, not being told they can't do this even if they never think of doing it. So by monitoring and gathering the data from a vision and framing good questions, what you leave to kids is a dynamic, vibrant community nestled comfortably in a sustainable environment that can be wildly beautiful. And you leave it to them as an unconditional gift where they want to stay, where they have something to stay for rather than leaving. Final example. When I was working in Malaysia, I noticed that the rice paddies were disappearing. The villages were breaking down, and I didn't know why. Visiting with some of the elders, asked where the children were. Rather than sending teachers into the villages to teach the children there within the envelope of village values, it was, you see, that would have been effective. They were efficient. They gathered all the children up, took them to a boarding school in town. And there they were taught city values. And there was no one to replace the adults as they grew old to take care of the rice paddies. So the corporations came in and took over the rice paddies. Now they began taking rice from this part of the country, that part of the country, and putting it all together local in centralized places, and it's spreading diseases all over the place where they had been confined and the rice that was grown was adapted to them. It was immune to them. Now all of a sudden rice disease is spread throughout Malaysia. The villages are crumbling, And because the corporations are in charge, they charge so much money for the rice that people can't buy their own rice from their own paddies. That's where it breaks down. When the kids no longer want to live there, towns become transient. I worked with the EPA for a short time and lived in Las Vegas. I was stunned. They published 2 huge phone books a year because the people are so transient. In my hometown, when I was a kid in the 40s, we knew everybody in town by their first name. There were only 7,000 people there. Counting the college students, now there are 53,000. When the malls came in, it's like going to a foreign country. You don't know anybody. You go in, you do your shopping, and you leave. The people in my hometown now are not committed to retiring there. They're going to Sun River. They're going someplace else. So they're not investing in the community anymore. They're investing in where they're going to retire. Even though they lived there 20 years and worked there, it's good enough for that. They're transients in spirit. And that's the challenge. Because people are not investing in the community because they don't see any value in the community in the long term. And that's because the community is breaking down. Gated communities. That's not what it's about. It's about people getting together to share a vision of a community in a healthy environment that makes children happy, where they integrate the community and we all work together for a common cause. A quality lifestyle. And quality will always conserve natural resources, and quantity will always squander. The question is, how do you choose to behave? It's your choice. It's the kids' futures. It's their consequences. I hope you give them a voice in what